My daughter, 14, had anxiety problems ever since she was little, but it was not severe. 3 months ago, my daughter changed drastically. She stopped eating, talking to us or her friends, and her marks dropped. We were really concerned, and her teachers strongly suggested we take her to therapy, which we did, and she was diagnosed with severe depression and social anxiety, which was expected. The therapy sessions look like they helped her well. In the first month she already began making progress and started talking to us and her friends again, and is eating whatever her mother is cooking. We were really happy to see this, and every day she would get better and better. The thing is, her marks did not. They are terrible, and she ended up barely passing the year. This is what infuriated me and made me cancel her therapy sessions. I know to some, it might sound terrible, but paying $120 per session and seeing no progress in her marks makes me feel like I am seriously wasting my money now that she returned back to normal. Not only that, but since she really enjoys going to therapy, I think telling her that she needs to get higher marks to continue her therapy sessions will motivate her to study harder and thus score better marks. My wife disagrees with my logic, and we had a massive argument because of it, which ended up with her saying that she is going to pay from her money, which hurt me since I see my and her money as ours. My daughter is also really upset on me and was begging me to keep her therapy sessions, but I think I am going to stick to this plan. Am I the idiot here? You are the idiot. Full stop. Taking away healthcare for grades isn't just a jerk move, it is negligence. By denying her therapy, you are just going to make things worse for her, possibly cause her to backslide into depression, and make her see you as the enemy since you see how therapy is helping her, but you are denying that to her. Under this logic, you keep her from getting chemo if she has cancer, or refuse her insulin if she had diabetes, unless she got her grades up. Mental health care is no different from physical health care. Also, good for your wife in standing up to you and saying no to your jerk decision. She is a good mom who is looking out for what is best for her child. You are the idiot. This is so wrong and borderline abusive. It is time that mental health is taken seriously and that your daughter's issues are treated accordingly. Have you thought her grades are suffering, likely because of everything she is struggling with? When I was her age and going through my own struggles with mental health, I missed so much school, but thankfully I had parents who prioritized my mental health. I am now a nursing student, and I wouldn't be where I am without having learned how to handle my mental health issues. Please educate yourself so you can get your daughter the best help available. You are the idiot. When my depression developed during my second year at university, my grades plunged. Bad. I'm an honor, straight A student and started failing several tests. I've been in therapy for a year and a half now, and it's the best thing I've ever done for myself. The reason she's opening up and becoming more social is likely a direct result of going to therapy. Progress takes time. It's very unrealistic to expect her to completely improve within 3 months of a treatment. And the reality is, this will not motivate her to study more. She'll go back to where she was 3 months ago, and all progress she's made will be reverted. Put her back into therapy, please. I, 37, had experienced 2 losses in a short period of time. I lost both my daughters, biological 9 years old, and adopted 14 years old, both suffered from chronic conditions. I was a single dad dealing with so much. Soon as my oldest passed away, my youngest got sick in the same year. I had no time to grieve. I found myself driving to the hospital again, talking to doctors again. It was a difficult time. My youngest passed away a year later in 2018. My family started talking about how I needed to move on. My brother told me that I can rest now that I'm no longer spending time with doctors and worrying about my daughters and their issues. That hurt me, even if he was trying to comfort me. My mom wanted me to get another chance to have kids, but I ignored her. My dad suggested that I move out of my house, but I told him I was comfortable enough to sleep at my house since he thought I should run from memories. I'd spend most of the time by myself. I met a parent just like me in group therapy, and we began talking. He's a struggling dad with a sick child. I met his son Adam, and he's such a sweet soul. They both begun visiting me. Adam reminded me of my daughters. He is 16, and he's smart and empathetic. He's a good cook for his age. He cooked for us a lot, and he brought books, and would help care for my plants. He's at the hospital now. His dad and I spoke about the surgery he needed. Their need for money. I decided to help out by using my youngest daughter's emergency fund to pay for surgery. This gift is from my daughters to Adam. He couldn't believe it and started crying because they've been struggling to come up with the money for months, and it also affected education. He stopped going to school for a year. I received a card from Adam. It's heartwarming. I haven't told my family, but when they visited me, my brother brought up that he needed money to renovate his house and how he has no money. Mom brought up my youngest daughter's emergency fund and asked me if I could help. I told them that I've already given the money to a close friend and paid for his son's surgery. They just stared at me. Then Mom and brother started yelling at me for doing that I was out of my mind to give away the money that was supposed to go to family who's struggling. They brought up how supportive they've been, and I was ungrateful. My brother called me a jerk for handing people I barely knew money, and not my own family. I told them to drop it or leave. They kept berating me, and I yelled back at them and told them to leave my house. My dad called the same night saying I was out of line for treating them like that, and that their reaction was understandable. He said I upset my family and doubled down by kicking them out. He wants to talk, but I know him. He has a short temper and will demand I take the money back. Not the idiot. I get that people grieve in different ways, but your family was being blatantly insensitive long before you gifted Adam and his family this money. The emergency fund was yours to spend how you see fit. If your family had been concerned that Adam's family was taking advantage of you in your grief, I could understand that better, although it wouldn't change my ruling, but it sounds like their only concern is that your brother won't get the money to renovate his house. Your gift to Adam was incredibly kind and generous, and I applaud you for doing something so positive with the money even in your grief. I'm so sorry for your losses, and I'm also sorry that your family members are being so selfish. Sorry for your loss, and I can't imagine how hard it must have been. I'm not sure what Adam was suffering from, but you might have just saved a young and talented boy's life, and you should have no reason to feel guilt for that. You didn't need to pay for Adam's surgery, but you did anyway, which was incredibly kind of you. Likewise, it's not your responsibility to pay for your brother's house renovation. You got me misty-eyed reading all of this. You did a beautiful thing for two people, and the fact that your family has responded as they have is disgusting. You are a good person who doesn't deserve the loss, let alone this harassment and callousness from your family. Not the idiot. Not the idiot. I am so sorry you had to go through this. From what you've described, it sounds like your family tried to rush you through the grieving process or make you grieve in their way, not your way. It sounds like helping out this other family helped to give you some closure, and they should understand that. I know that some people think family needs to be first, but grief is a very personal issue, and you need to take care of yourself first. Also, you gave the money to a family for a procedure or treatment that may improve quality of life or maybe save a life, unsure on the details. Using money for something like that versus renovating a house? Easy decision. I, 25, am dating a woman named Ally, 24. We moved in together 5 months ago, and I really love her a lot. Ally just doesn't have great table manners. She eats noisily and sloppily. In a restaurant environment, usually this isn't too bad because of the natural ambient sound. In a quiet room, it's much more noticeable. I don't exactly like it, but usually I can tolerate it. However, when Ally eats pasta, she slurps her noodles so loudly that people from other tables look. It's completely mortifying to hear people murmur about her loud slurping all the time. I know this might be normal in some cultures, but from where I'm from in the US, it looks really uncultured and bothers some people who are more sensitive to sounds. I've tried to teach her how to use a spoon to spin the pasta into a bowl. Nope, she doesn't want to. I've tried to ask her to take smaller bites. Nope. That's how she eats pasta, and that's how she'll always eat pasta. We've been to a local Italian restaurant half a dozen times, and each time but one, in a basically empty restaurant, she humiliated me with her loud slurpy eating. I know I shouldn't care what other people think, but I agree with the patrons. It's disgusting. People are trying to enjoy a meal. I finally got frustrated one day and told her that I wouldn't eat noodles with her in public anymore. She can eat alone, or she can go with friends. I'll happily drive her to the restaurant, but I will not sit down with her. She kind of blew off my message with, "Oh yeah, you're perfect, so I get it," and I thought that was that. Last night, I really wanted to go to our local Italian place again. I asked her if she would be ordering spaghetti. She rolled her eyes and said she'd get the lasagna. I agreed that was fine, and we went out for the first time in a while. When the waitress came to take our order, Ally completely went back on her promise and ordered spaghetti. I told the waitress I wouldn't be needing anything, stood up, and walked to our car. I relaxed in the car listening to a podcast until Ally came out a while later. She sat down and started giving me the silent treatment. When we got home, she yelled at me about embarrassing her, would not let me say a single word without shrieking over me, and said that she's only interested in an apology. I refused, and she went to another room to loudly talk crap about me to herself, intentionally, so I could hear. So, I don't know if I went too far. This is a tough one. It is a bad guy move to walk out on her. But I am one of those people sensitive to sounds, and just reading this made me cringe because I could dang near hear it. She needs to learn some basic manners. She can slurp them up at home, but in public, it shouldn't be happening. She also intentionally changed her order despite knowing how much it bothered you, and you did give her fair warning you wouldn't eat pasta with her in a sit-down restaurant. Ironic, she's mad at you for embarrassing her once, when she's been embarrassing you repeatedly with this. I'm going with not the idiot. Not the idiot. Not even close. In fact, your girlfriend sounds like one. For refusing to stop eating like a pig, and doesn't want to learn proper table manners and food etiquette. She sounds like an inconsiderate slob. It's disgusting, embarrassing and rude on her part. You sound like you've been dealing with it a lot, and have been very tolerable of it. Coming from someone here who has severe misophonia, this is my friend, would be a deal breaker, hands down. If anything, she owes you an apology for the embarrassment she causes everyone, while eating out, or when eating in front of you or anyone else. She's lucky all you did was walk out of the restaurant. Not the idiot. She sounds selfish, entitled and rude. She knows she's making a scene, but doesn't care, and obviously doesn't care to eat like an adult. There's no way she doesn't notice people around her staring and making comments. She purposely ordered spaghetti when she said she wouldn't. You warned her, and she didn't care. I just wouldn't eat Italian unless it were at home. Maybe record her so she can be fully aware of how loud she's actually being. Talk her into eating keto? I don't know, but I absolutely would say this is exactly what will happen every time. Also, do her friends and family feel the same about how she eats noodles? First of all, about a year ago I decided that I wanted to find out where my ancestors came from, as I don't exactly look like my nationality, and I was curious. I got one of those DNA kits in the mail. A few months later, I receive an email from the company to say that they have found a parent and child match with me. I am clearly the child in this case, and the match was a woman. I know 100% that my mother carried me and gave birth to me, so I just wrote it off as an error. I was a bit skeptical about the whole thing anyway. I am an IVF baby. Anyway, a few days ago I decided to message this woman to see if I would get a reply, though not actually expecting one. This woman replied, and it turns out that she donated her eggs in the same time period that I was born, and also in the actual municipality that we lived, and where my parents' fertility clinic was. I spoke to my sister about these findings, as I don't know if I should confront my parents or not. My whole life, I have been led to believe that I am both of my parents' biological child, just through IVF. It might be important to note that I am a triplet, and now my sister is questioning whether we are related or not. I am very certain that my father is my father, as I look very much like him. There is no question there. I have always thought that my sister looks like my mother's sister, and hence I've never had to question otherwise. Now we are wondering if we have the same father, but our mother is not biologically our mother? Or are my other siblings products of my mother's egg? And I am the odd one out? Are we all products of different donor eggs? Has there been a mistake at the fertility clinic? Would I be the idiot if I questioned my parents? They knew I was getting this DNA kit and did not seem concerned at all that I might uncover something they didn't want me to know. I love my mother, she raised me, and for all intents and purposes is my mother. I do not want to have any contact with this other woman, but I do feel lied to for my entire life. I have no idea if my parents have known all along that they used donor eggs and just pretended that we are biologically theirs. What if there was malpractice at the fertility clinic? No idiots here. Talk with your siblings, and then sit down with your parents for a talk, not a confrontation. Stress to your mom that you love her and that she is your mom. Reassure her, then show them the DNA results and tell them about your phone call with the egg donor. Your parents may be completely blindsided by this information. They may legitimately think that your mom's eggs were used. If the clinic effed up and used the wrong eggs, the clinic should face consequences. But I'd phrase it as I'm super confused by these results, and I think we need to figure this out together. No idiots here. Your parents were open about the IVF and didn't have any problems with you getting the DNA test. This could very well be the result of an error at the IVF clinic. Either way, since you're triplets, it's not like one sibling is a love child and anyone has something to hide. You deserve the truth because of medical history, etc. So yes, talk to your parents. Try to be open-minded about their intentions. If they chose donor eggs, hiding that wasn't out of malice, but probably to prevent you from questioning your identity until you were old enough to handle it. Everyone has a right to know where they came from. Just be very careful how you approach it. The only question I have is, if you love your mother and don't want to continue communication with this other woman, then why bother confronting your parents? All you're going to do is create drama that's unnecessary. You love your parents, seems like you had a good upbringing, and you don't care to talk to this other woman, so bottom line is just let it go. You did the DNA test to know more about your ethnicity, not to trace who's actually your parents. That's a key factor. If anything, all this should do is ask that other woman about health history, since she apparently is your biological mother, so her family health history is important.